Okay, so think about this for a second. Have you ever found yourself in a conversation, maybe an argument,
Yeah.
where you felt just absolutely undeniably right?
Oh, definitely.
But here's the thing, the person you were talking to, they felt exactly the same way.
Right. It's that moment, isn't it, where you both have this complete conviction.
Yeah, complete conviction.
Mhm.
You might even nod politely, maybe smile a bit,
Mhm.
but inside you're just thinking, how can they possibly not see what seems so clear to me?
It's such a universal human experience, that feeling, that kind of conversational gridlock. We've all been there.
We absolutely have. And, that very familiar scenario.
Mm.
That's really our jumping off point for this deep dive.
Okay.
We're going to step into this, well, surprisingly complex world of disagreement
Right?
and ask a really fundamental question. Can two people genuinely actually be right and still disagree?
The core of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So our mission today is to kind of unpack the nuances. We'll talk about that word of different viewpoints.
And see how understanding them might actually help lead to maybe more harmonious interactions.
That's the goal. And just so you know, for this deep dive, we've been looking at a really fascinating mix of sources, psychological research papers, some insightful articles on, like, human perception communication.
That's what we're drawing on today.
Yeah, that's what we mean when we say our sources.
And you mentioned nuance. That's actually a really key concept for us today, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
Is our word of the day, so to speak.
And our sources, they define nuance pretty clearly. It's like a very small difference in something, such as color, tone, meaning, etc.
Yeah, exactly. Those tiny, subtle distinctions.
The almost imperceptible shift sometimes.
Right. And those often hold the key,
Yeah.
to really getting what's going on in the situation.
Definitely.
So look, this deep dive, it isn't about handing you some kind of magic wand to, like, solve every single argument you'll ever have.
No, that'd be nice, but unlikely. Some disagreements are just, well, they're just differences.
Right. But what we do hope to do is maybe give you a fresh lens, a new way to look at human interaction.
Help you navigate all the information and different opinions out there.
Yeah, with maybe a bit more insight and hopefully far less overwhelm. Sound good?
Sounds great. Let's dive in.
Okay, so where do we start? What are the sources telling us about this whole both sides being right thing?
Well, one of the first things our research consistently points out is a really critical distinction. It's about the kind of disagreement we're having.
Okay, like what?
So if we're talking about pure facts, the boiling point of water, the capital of France, that sort of thing.
Objective stuff.
Exactly. There's usually a clear right and a clear wrong answer there. It's verifiable.
Makes sense.
But, and this is the interesting part, beyond those objective facts, our sources make a pretty compelling case that, yes, two people can indeed be right, in their own way and still fundamentally disagree.
Huh. So it's almost like that saying, agree to disagree.
Kind of, yeah, but maybe with a deeper, more sort of empathetic twist to it. It's not just giving up, it's understanding why the disagreement exists.
So it's less about stubbornly holding your ground, trying to prove you're more correct.
That seems to be the suggestion, yes. The material indicates that in many discussions, especially when it's not just about hard facts, understanding why the other person holds their view is often way more valuable than just trying to win them over.
It's about maybe letting go of that need for your stance to be seen as, like, unilaterally better.
Precisely. And that,
Yeah.
well, that leads us right into the concept of bias, which our sources explore quite a bit.
Bias. Okay.
Yeah, they point out something pretty fundamental. Everyone has lived their lives differently, and in their path of life, certain ideas may ring more true.
So our personal history shapes what feels right.
Absolutely. And it's not just personal history in a general sense. It often ties into specific cognitive biases.
Like confirmation bias.
Exactly like confirmation bias, where we often unconsciously seek out and interpret information in a way that just confirms what we already believe.
Right. So what feels inherently right to me might stem deeply from my unique journey, the mental frameworks I've built up over years.
Precisely. Your experiences, your upbringing, the information you've consumed, it all feeds into it.
That's where it gets really interesting, I think. Our readings mention this idea that, let me find the exact phrase. Here. Typically, there's always a smidgen of truth on all sides, with some more than others.
A smidge of truth. I like that phrasing too.
Me too.
Yeah.
It suggests that even when viewpoints seem completely opposite, there's usually some tiny valid core in there somewhere.
Yeah, it's not often completely fabricated out of thin air.
Right. I always think of that image, two people looking at a number drawn on the floor between them.
Oh yeah, the 6 and the 9.
Exactly. From one side, it's clearly a 6 hit. From the other, absolutely a 9.
And both people are right from their specific vantage point.
But neither one has the complete picture. They're both seeing a truth, just a partial one.
And if we connect that idea to the bigger picture, like in broader societal disagreements, it implies that even really strongly held beliefs, the ones that feel absolute to the person holding them, often start with that small, maybe even verifiable foundation, that smidgen.
Okay.
And then, and this is crucial, according to our sources, these smidgens of truth can get magnified by the media or the world around us.
So they don't stay small.
No, they get amplified, distorted sometimes, which can then lead to these much more entrenched, seemingly irreconcilable positions.
So that little 6 or 9 can morph into this giant, unmovable thing in someone's mind.
Pretty much, yeah. Especially if they keep seeing it reinforced from all the angles they're looking from their news sources, their social circles.
Wow. Okay. But then there's this other layer, which frankly feels a bit darker, almost disheartening. It's the idea, also from our readings, that the worst kind of truth are the ones we don't even believe in, but we choose to believe it out of spite.
Ugh. Yeah, that's a tough one, believing out of spite.
Right. It's not about what's factually true or even what genuinely feels true based on experience.
Yeah.
It's about taking an adversarial stance.
Maybe just to oppose someone else or another group.
Exactly. How does that even work psychologically? Why would someone do that?
Well, it's a really interesting and somewhat troubling psychological phenomenon. Our sources touch on this. Sometimes the desire to win an argument, or maybe just the need to be against something or someone, that desire can actually override the pursuit of actual truth.
So it's less about genuine conviction.
And more about identity, or maybe just pure opposition, sticking it to the other side.
Yeah.
And our sources suggest that in those cases, trying to bridge the gap, as they put it, becomes incredibly difficult.
Because the foundation isn't a real belief you can discuss.
Exactly. There's no genuine smidgen of truth to even start from. It really underscores how important critical thinking is.
Not just about the information we get.
But about the motivation behind holding a belief, both our own and others. Why does someone believe this? Is it conviction, experience, or something else, like spite?
That adds a whole other layer of complexity to navigating disagreements.
It certainly does.
So, okay, pulling this all together,
Yeah.
what does this mean for us, for listeners, just trying to navigate daily interactions, conversations, maybe the occasional argument?
Well, I think a key takeaway is shifting the goal. Maybe the primary goal isn't always conversion, getting the other person to agree with you.
Okay, so what is it instead?
Comprehension. Understanding. The research we looked at notes that this kind of understanding, it requires finding the moment and allowing connections to happen.
Finding the moment, allowing connections. That sounds less like arguing and more like creating space.
Exactly. Creating space for empathy, not just for counter-arguments. It's actually a huge shift, isn't it?
It really is. It goes against that instinct many of us have, which is to jump in and prove our point.
Right. It's recognizing that simply coexisting side by side isn't quite enough for real harmony.
You need something more active.
Yeah, a deliberate effort to try and grasp the underlying reasons for the other person's perspective, even if those reasons feel completely foreign to your own worldview.
And, crucially, this doesn't mean you have to agree with them, right?
Not at all. Understanding isn't endorsing. It's about seeing the roots of their conviction, finding that smidgen of truth from their perspective.
Okay, that feels like a really practical, powerful shift in perspective.
It can be.
So let's try and recap the key ideas we've pulled from the sources today. What should people take away from this deep dive?
Well, first, the big one. Beyond just objective facts, people can genuinely feel they are right and still disagree.
Right, because of those personal biases, lived experiences, the unique paths that shape what feels true to each of us.
Exactly. And then there's that great concept, the smidgen of truth on all sides.
Yeah, that little core of validity that might exist even in opposing views.
But we also saw how that smidgen can get magnified or distorted by external factors, by media.
Or even in some cases by sheer spite, which makes connection really difficult.
Right. And then Maybe most importantly, we explored this idea that even if you don't and maybe can't fully embrace someone else's standpoint,
Understanding it, trying to see where they're coming from.
that's a crucial step. It's about bridging the gap, as the sources say, aiming for a more harmonious society.
Not by forcing agreement, but by finding the moment and allowing connections to happen.
Precisely. Building that understanding connection by connection.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, maybe something for you, the listener, to think about.
A final thought?
Yeah, a provocative one pulled directly from our research material. A whisper in the right moment can echo louder than a shout in the wrong one,
Hmm. That's powerful.
isn't it? So maybe consider, what does that quote mean for how you might approach conversations, maybe even disagreements in your own life?
When is the right moment for that whisper? How do you find it?
Good questions. And maybe also think back to that image we talked about earlier, the two people eating the exact same dish.
One loving it, one hating it.
Yeah, one smiling, totally enjoying it, the other looking, disgusted. How might understanding nuance, really digging in that smidgen of truth behind their individual experiences, how might that shift your perspective on everyday differences like that?
And maybe help you navigate that rich, sometimes confusing tapestry of human experience.
With just a little more grace, a little more understanding, something to mull over.